All right, guys, welcome back to the BS Machine. I'm super excited on this epic episode to have the legendary Eoin Finn on the BS Machine. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, man, for having me. Thanks, Tommy.
No worries, man. Well, look, just before I even introduce you or anything like that, the reason I wanted to get you on is I've been following your work for quite a while, and
Okay.
and it's so interesting, man, because I had this feeling that you're going to be exactly the same, just having a chat as you are in on Allo moves and stuff like that. And one of the things that I absolutely loved about your classes on Allo moves, which is where I got introduced to you, was after every class, I was like, there was something in me, and I'm like, I'm feeling all these yummy bubbles, and I'm feeling this like yummy energy and whatever. And I was like, I've got to check into this guy. And then I looked at your website, Blissology, and looked through that. And your whole philosophy was like right on the money of exactly, how I live life, how I look at life. And I'm like, I've got to reach out to Ian and get him on the potty and just have a chat to him. So really honored to have you on, brother. Thank you so much for coming on.
Stoked, man. Stoked. Actually, I gotta say that for what I'm doing with Blissology, there's a few places in the world that really resonate with it. San Diego, like Southern California, Hawaii, and Australia. Just the ocean, living connected to nature, like your things that BS, like just no BS. Like let's just bring spirituality down to earth. Let's be connected to each other, and and I just
Yeah.
feel like those ocean cultures get it. I love Australia. I love Melbourne. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even though it's winter here, I'm doing daily dips in the ocean. I mean, I think the ocean at the moment is like 9 degrees or something like that
Oh,
Celsius. But
wow.
I've got to get in there almost every day. Otherwise, I just feel like there's something missing. And
Yeah.
you're an avid surfer. So, Ian, what's how can you just give us a rundown of how you even landed in yoga and how you sort of built this epic thing? Because one of the things with you, man, is that you're just you and you're just expressing your truth out to the world, and everyone's going, oh wow, like I'm really
Yeah.
resonating with whatever this guy's putting out. So how did it
I'm
all
glad that comes
begin?
through. Even on video, because yeah. But yeah, I mean that it's definitely um, I'm only trying to be me and more clearly me every year. What's up, bud? Okay. And then my son's here.
That's
Anyway,
cool.
yeah, and so how did I get into the yoga part of it is actually just what we were talking about, which is, um, I had just felt something in nature. When I was really young, I grew up in Canada around a lot of lakes and forests and just something amazing. I mean, let me just put it this way. I liked who I was in the forest the best. And it brought something incredible out in me. I don't even know if it's spiritual or physiological. I'm not sure, but I just loved the way I felt, and like I have to explain this. And so I got turned on to a person called Joseph Campbell, who wrote. He was in a PBS television series that came out around the same time I was looking into what to study in university, and he was talking about this Native American idea of a great spirit, how there's a great spirit everywhere. You don't have to go to church or a temple or anywhere. It's just everywhere. And if you want to feel this, then yogis have a systematic way for feeling. It's a step by step by step process. And then in university, I'm like, okay, I'm going to study yoga. I'm going to study, well, not just yoga. I call it like generally Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, all that stuff. And that was what I was studying. Lion, you can't go on the iPad over there, dude. If I'm doing this interview, you can't. Sorry, man. Anyway,
Yeah,
then we got you're getting competed with a 10-year-old on YouTube,
love
which he
it, love
shouldn't
it.
be doing. He's sneaking up here away from his mama. Anyway, staying on
Yeah,
track though. Yeah, that led me to get into meditation, and then I got into the asana practice after it. So I feel like these days a lot of people go yoga, meditation, and then philosophy, but I kind of went the opposite way around back then. So that was like
yeah.
1987, I think. Yeah.
Crazy. And so in '87 or whenever you started this practice, did you in any way have like a dysfunctional life in any way, shape, or form, or have you always like just followed this energy that's within you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I definitely had a wild life.
Yeah. What does that
Yeah,
mean?
the
Like
best way to
how?
describe dysfunctional. I actually, you know, I read so many people's stories, and sometimes I'm like, God, I wish I was an alcoholic and lost my shit and ended up on a park bench and somehow yoga saved me. But it actually wasn't that. That's a great story, and people love that
Yeah.
extreme. Um, I've lived a really extreme life. I mean, like I've partied and I've done a lot of extreme sports and stuff like that. But even on my wildest nights in college, I would always, the next day, go camping with a tent and just be super zen, not talk to people. I had this way of like, even back then, of always trying to balance myself out of like, okay, I've gone too far into the extroverted, woo, this and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in the forest now or the beach or whatever, just pitch my tent and just ground back down. So I don't know. I guess I definitely have like an inner Jim Morrison side, but it's always balanced with like a Dalai Lama side. It's kind of
Yeah.
just back and forth with a little Bob Marley in the middle, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That actually reminds me when I lived in LA. I was in a band and I was doing a lot of music, and I lived in LA for like 6 years, doing the whole rock and roll lifestyle thing, and
Yeah.
and I remember when I first got introduced to yoga, even before I think it was like a couple of weeks beforehand, in the band we had like a massive argument. I mean, it was so heated. I'm not the type of guy that gets angry often, but I was livid. Like I had this rage just coming up from me, and the only thing I could do, I had to leave the rehearsal studio, and I left, and the only thing I could do was hug a fucking tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the first time. And as soon as I hugged the tree, it was totally intuitive. I didn't know what else to do. I just went up to a tree and literally hugged the thing. And as soon as I hugged this tree, I was like, oh wow, what the hell? Like it just grounded me straight away, and that rage, that anger just left almost immediately.
Yeah. And you're so lucky that you live in places that have trees. I mean, this is my thing. Whenever I'm doing writing or teaching, I'm always thinking about what's coming, and you go to these big, like my wife is from Bombay, India, and you go to, big Asian cities where there's no trees and there's only shopping malls, or if there's trees, they're like super manicured and, it's like no wild. And, I just think about life 100 years from now. It's like going to be a heavy time for people to grow up because you had that experience. But imagine if you didn't. This is an amazing tool that I think a lot of people are losing. And that's one of my goals is that we stay connected to nature somehow.
And
Yeah.
you know what, Ian, like with you touch so many people. Like you come across, like with your trainings, they're obviously they're full of people, and you do trainings all over the world, and so one of the things I'd love to know from you is that
I used to.
yeah, well, I mean, you're not doing trainings anymore? You
Oh no, just with like
obviously with
pandemic
COVID,
stuff.
with the pandemic, but
Kind of.
but
Well, we're supposed to do the next one's due out in November, but I'm just saying it. I haven't
Yes, I
done much
know.
traveling. In fact, my life now is if I go like 500 meters from where I live, it's a miracle. Yeah.
where are you in Bali?
I'm in Canggu. I'm in Perananan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So kind of. Yeah. I mean, the beach is I don't know 250 meters that way. So
Man,
yeah.
unbelievable. But no, what I was gonna ask you was because you've I mean you well, not even Bali, but you live in the way that you live, and you've got all these tools like yoga and meditation and philosophy. When you're doing trainings or when you're coaching others, you would have groups of people coming into your life that
Yeah.
it's almost they see you as not like a guru, but they'd see you as someone that's going to give them all the answers, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because I see you being the type of guy where you're like, you know what, the answers are what you teach is the answers are within, you know,
Right.
and it's like you're just giving people these tools and these amazing features and benefits and tools where it's like, dude, don't look for me. I'm not the answer. Like I'm just showing you how to get that source within.
Yeah, I mean, all we can really do ultimately is share our path, right? Like these are like, look, here's the simple part of it is that life is hard, dukkha, it's hard, and it's so easy to lose perspective. And so for me, I'd lose perspective every day. I'm like, here's what I do to bring myself back. Is it the only way? No. Is someone else's way wrong? No. This is what works for me, and if it works for you, great. And maybe it'll inspire you, to find your own tools, your own way of seeing things. Yeah, I mean, and I love the Taoist idea, of the greatest leaders. That people don't even know they're there. They just guide behind the scenes. It's not like I'm the greatest with all the answers and you must follow me kind of thing, which is, that's just not me. That shoe size doesn't fit.
That and other than Joseph Campbell, who've been maybe one or two other people that have really that you've really landed with, and they've they've given you some really epic ways of looking at life or with different perspectives.
That's a good question. I would say, I have one teacher called Susan Aposhin. I did something called body mind psychotherapy with her. She's from Boulder, Colorado. Not super famous, so it's probably not ringing any bells for people. But I really learned a lot of how to describe it, emotional self-regulation tools there, like how to, we think the mind is up here, but this whole thing is your mind, and basically, if you can really start to make the changes downstairs, it will change upstairs first. So I learned a lot of that through her, and that's something that's really been something that sticks with me. Being from Canada, there's a person you may not know again, but in Canada he's like a legend, David Suzuki, and he's had a TV show when I was growing up called The Nature of Things, and he really has done a great job of explaining both the science and he wrote a book that really meant a lot to me called Sacred Balance, and it just really explains kind of the spiritual side of nature as well as the science. When you're taking a breath, what are you actually doing there? Breath obviously means spirit. We know all this other stuff, but what like how do we get air on the planet? How is the air you're breathing in Melbourne connected to the air I'm breathing here in Bali? How are we breathing our ancestors' air? But scientifically, it's true. And when you can really, I love this world that we live in because it's not like spirituality and yoga is one place and science is another. There's this really great kind of Venn diagram where they're overlapping. And I love living in those middle grounds. And I feel like David Suzuki really speaks that language well.
Yeah.
So he's another one.
Here's another one. Yeah. I haven't heard David, but like that, just the name of that book makes me want to go get it and read
Sacred
it.
Balance. Yeah, it's a great read. It really is. I don't think he did particularly well with it, but it's worth reading. It's really inspirational for me.
And when you talk about breath, just recently, probably the last 2 or 3 years, I've really found the power behind breath, and I've now got a daily breathing practice where, it's for me at the moment. It's the vehicle to really connect me to this whole other realm, and it was actually in I can't remember which one, but it was in one of your classes on Aloe Moves where afterwards it was I can't remember the exact class, but there was this element of breath work in there, but it was after the classes. With your class, it's always after the classes where I'm like, fuck, what's going on here? Like, I'm feel that wasn't just a yoga class. That was, I'm feeling shit here, you know.
Yeah.
And with the breath, when I realized that it could be something separate from me, but then I'm part of it as well, and it's this essence of I'm not breathing, I'm being breathed.
Yeah.
But at the same point, being able to control that part that's breathing you. You know, it's, I don't know if that makes sense or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's like the breath is something that's so sacred, and so many people in the world don't realize how sacred it is.
Yeah.
And one of the aha moments that I had around breath is that we all fucking take it for granted, don't we?
Yeah.
Because imagine if we right now had 5 or 10 breaths left, like the hustle to feel and the hustle to be in the moment. You'd want to feel every possible millisecond until you've got that last 10th breath.
Yeah, a nurse a long time ago was in one of our trainings showed me a YouTube video of a woman who had just got off a mechanical ventilator and was breathing with her own lungs for the first time. And it's almost like the reverse of what you were talking about of like, okay, I don't have 5 breaths left. I just got it back. And just the look on her face of like, I can breathe again, you know, and that's it. I mean, what's cool about the breath is, yeah, we don't have to think about it. I mean, thank you, nature. What a great gift that biologically we figured that out. But I mean, you're a musician. I see the guitar behind you. And I mean, the way I describe it about the breath is like, I could grab a guitar, but I think a better analogy is something like a saxophone where you actually have to blow through it. Like I can make a sound on a saxophone. But you know and I know to play a saxophone well, that's a skill. And what I've learned about breathing is that you can just breathe the same way you just blow into a saxophone and make a sound. But to really tune the instrument of your body, that's like a lifelong journey. It's it's not like you take saxophone lessons for a year and then you're done. You know, it's like you're always rediscovering things and expressing things in a new way. And the breath in your body and whatever that connects you to, you know, at least your mind is it's an instrument, and we need to, as a culture, learn how to invest the time into playing that. And what happens when we do? The rewards are massive.
Yeah,
You know,
so
we
true.
could spend the whole weekend talking about the rewards.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And with the you know, I guess getting off the well, not even getting off, but that sort of leads into what I find, and I've found this in myself as well, being a, you know, like teaching yoga and breath work and things like that over the last 4 or 5 years. But is that when you go to a yoga class or you go to a workshop or something like that, and you see the person that's facilitating the workshop, and they're yapping on about all this, you know, the breath and the chakras and this and that, and it's like, you know, and you, it's almost like you sit there going, it doesn't happen all the time, but I see this quite a lot, and you would too in this type of world that we live, is a lot of people they're preaching, they're just preaching, but you can tell behind the scenes that they're not doing the fucking work.
Yeah.
You know, and so what I wanted to ask you is with that around, you know, having this sense of accountability and responsibility for holding space for other people, what would you say is like the most important thing in terms of facilitating change in the world, especially if you're a person that is holding space for others, whether you're teaching, you're coaching, or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I mean, even just small ways. You know, if you sell insurance, you're kind of holding space for people, right? I would say that I think the number one thing you need to do is believe that energy matters. You know, you need to live as if you're constantly exchanging energy with people, and basically you have a chance to bless them through your interaction. Let's say you are an insurance salesperson. You know, I can sell you insurance and be, okay, that's $500. Thank you for your check, whatever. Okay, next. Or I can just take that 2 seconds and I'm not gonna say it out loud, otherwise you'll think I'm weird. But just go, you know, just quietly under my breath be like, yeah, I hope you and your family stay safe. And this insurance helps you and helps you live a better life. Okay, next. You know what I mean? It takes 2 extra seconds to put that to sprinkle love on it, right? And I think that's just it. And I still, as someone who's interested in the science of things, I'm trying to break that down scientifically. And a lot of people who are scientific reductionists would say, well, that's just not true. And I'm saying, look, I'm not even saying it is true necessarily. I'm just saying live your life as if it's true and see what happens. So when you're standing there playing music or giving a class, whatever, to really realize, even if you just, now when you do things on Zoom or cameras, like on the Allo things that you talked about, like to look at the camera and go, there's someone behind this. And you matter. And it's an honor. It's such a simple mantra, but one of my mantras I say all the time is, it is an honor to be here right now with you. It's an honor to be here right now with you. Because the first part of it is an honor to be here right now. And that alone is an amazing statement. It is an honor to be here right now. In this body, in this year, in this place. Wow, thank you, life. And then with you, well, that's even better. You know what I mean? And if we just had that attitude towards each other more, and that's I don't even want to call that spirituality. I feel like that's just being human. That's a gift we can all step into or not.
Yeah, it's very powerful. So simple.
Be a Buddha figure to do it. That's just it's not for a select few people. It's like everyone has this gift, and all you have to do is go, I got this gift. It's right here, and it's just quick attitude change.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that, with when you're in the heat of the moment, whether it's in relationships or friends or whatever, where there's conflict or something arises around that, it's like reminding yourself, it's like, hey, like, it's an honor to honor to be here with you and
with you, yeah,
and experience this fucking anger. It's like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of being alive. Like, we all, it's cool that everyone thinks differently, and we're not going to, like, we're all occupying space, and there's no way we can just walk around and not bump into each other in the world, right? So we're gonna bump up against each other, like that's the way it is. And like, it's nothing personal, it's just the way life works,
Yeah.
And if we can just go through our arguments like that and go, yeah, you think differently than me, I respect that. I think we need more of that space for sure, especially as the world becomes more polarized, like everything, like vegans and paleos and right wing and left wing, and it's just getting so polar. And even in yoga, we have like hot sweaty yoga and relaxing yin yoga, and everything's just so extreme, and it's just so nice to have that. I'm not right, you're not right, but let's play this game called life.
Yeah, let's play. Yeah. What's the when you talk, Ian, it's like it's almost like I keep seeing different not lifetimes, but I keep seeing different, like, sort of experiences rolling out from you, so it's sound like you do, it feels to me like you're always talking from experience, and the things that you teach, it's like you've been through those things, you've been through the moments, you've had the aha moments, and you've had the anger and all the emotions and all that type of stuff, and you've been disconnected and you've been connected, and the whole polarity. But what's the thing in you where your light shines the greatest? What are you doing when, and obviously there's that answer of, well, I'm just in the moment, but like, I get it. But what's the thing that when you're doing that thing, your light?
Well, I know what you're saying. It kind of gets to your last question of, how do you hold space? And I know what my mission here is on the planet. You know, I say to be a conduit for love. That's what I want to do. Like to really just. Okay, this sounds super hippie, but it's like to let love come through you, and when I feel like I'm best at doing that is at the end of the yoga class we do in Blissology yoga something called Circle of Light, and you know, in a way, I would like to actually say what that is in a way is plugging back into our ancestral knowledge. So if you look, I mean, here in Bali, you look at the people when they have their ceremonies and they gather together in a circle. You know, in Australia, the Aboriginal people who gathered in a circle. Where I'm from, the First Nations people gather. Like we always gather together in circles. And then I look at the end of our yoga classes, and it's just so rectangular, you know. And everyone's in this space of, you don't bug me, I won't bug you, and we'll just stay away from each other and keep our happy bubble on. And you know, maybe there's a better reason for that now in a pandemic, but. Back to the point is that when people come together, I don't know, I feel like that's where I'm at my highest power. And the whole thing is like what I truly, truly feel, I'm saying feel, I can't say it's true or not true, is that someone's in charge in those moments and it's not me. And my job is to get out of my own way and to really let it come through. So basically, to bring it to a summary, we do these things at the end of a Blissology class called Circle of Light, where we all come together and just kind of make the space of, honestly, when you just feel bodies who are super, like the yoga makes you present, and you come together, and when you're around other human bodies, just kind of make this space to process things. Like all kinds of people start crying or stuff moves through them, and we just allow ourselves to get real, and which is, I know you're saying get spiritual, we get real, and yeah, something amazing happens at that point. And so I feel like one of my greatest skills is conducting those circles.
Yeah, and that's where you feel the most light shining, the most connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is definitely something. I mean, for me, it's a similar thing. You know, like I remember the first workshop I ever did. I put out this thing, and it was the first time I facilitated a workshop, and I had like 35 people rock up, and it was like a full day thing, and I'm just sitting there going, "Holy shit!" Like, why are you guys even here? Like, please go away. And I freaked out, and through, I feel like I literally made up the whole day. I had this big plan, and I rocked up, and I had to hold space there for 5 or 6 hours for these 35 people, and I have no idea what came through me. I just went, okay, I'm doing this. And it was a similar thing where it just was like I was connected into a other thing, and it just came through me, and it was the same thing. All I did was I was just a conduit to express the care and love I have for people, and it was beautiful. There was tears, I was bawling my eyes out, they were crying. It was just like woo, this beautiful exchange.
I know
of
exactly
energy.
the feeling, and you know what comes to mind when I think about that. First of all, it's amazing that you've experienced that and you continue to experience that, and you provide those spaces because we need them. And that's exactly my point, is that you know, we live in a culture where I ask people a lot, if you don't have a space where you can connect truly like that with people, or where emotions can move through you like that, like you're providing the yoga experience, where do people get that? And when I push them on those, you know, you can say, oh, I go to a swim club, whatever. But I'm like, okay, but like swimming's amazing. Keep swimming. That's great. And get together with your friends. That's awesome. But are you getting together at that level where emotions can move through you? We just need those spaces as well. Everyone, like, look, a simple analogy is if you don't dust your house, it doesn't dust itself, right? And so we need these spaces where we can, I call it heart dusting, where we can dust our hearts off. And because we don't, Well, it's global. It's not just where I live. It's Australia. Everyone, like, the addiction rates crazy because that's the only tool we have, and I hate seeing that. Like, I mean, it's just so sad to me that these tools that we're talking about aren't everyday tools. They're not things that we learn in grade school, that we don't make these spaces. And when tears do come, we got to apologize to people, even at a funeral. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean by apologize to people?
Oh, well, I mean, what? Okay, how'd you let me? Okay, I'll sign it. Hang on. Okay.
What are you
All right, I
signing?
gotta sign this real quick.
Yeah.
On that note, this is my
Why
son.
did
Just
you
for
sign it there?
Okay, here. Sorry.
Dad.
Oh, I love it.
Some friends of ours actually it's funny because have just had COVID or they're going through it.
Oh, really?
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so my son made them a card, and he wants to bring them their card, so he asked me to sign it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of nice. Yeah, so sorry about that.
That's cool.
Yeah, we were talking about. What do I mean by saying sorry?
apologizing.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Look, it's a real simple question, but you've seen it. I mean, I don't. I'm sure it exists in Australia, but as soon as people cry anywhere around other people, what's the first thing they do? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they apologize to each other, and I'm always like, that's the most like. Where does that like? That's a massive statement. In fact, in our courses, we have a course called Commit to Bliss, and it's one of the questions we answer there. Is like, like make people sit down and write it. Well, they don't have to if they don't want to, but we throw that question up for people to answer. And it's a super loaded question. There's tons in there. Why, when we cry around other people, do we feel the need to apologize? Like, where does that come from? And when you start to like reverse engineer that, there's a lot of wrong turns culturally that we've made to get us to that one simple point. And once you can see the wrong turns, it helps to make the fixes, And then the music you play, the podcasts you make, the yoga classes you give, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Like, I need to actually help people through the lack of tools that they have to deal with stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the tears for me, it's something that, for me personally, I've always been a crier. Like, as soon as I feel love or connection, it's just like, blah! I'm a crier straight away. And even in yoga classes, like sometimes, those moments in a yoga class when you feel the whole room come together and everyone's moving and that flow's going on, and it's like, you're not even holding the class anymore. It's like the class is holding you, and it's like, and there's moments there where I feel my voice crack and, a few tears pop out, and I turn around. I'm like, oh my God, I hope I can keep my shit together.
Exactly.
And it is, you feel almost, apologetic, and it's like, I don't want to let that out. But then when, especially with what the world's going through, and there's so much pain and fear, and what you were talking about before, it's like, do I do this? Do I do that? And people are constantly trying to find what their truth is, what their authentic truth is, and it's like, if I do this, then I'm part of this group, or if I do this, then I'm part of this group. But really, is it just a case of doing what the inner source is guiding us to do? And if it's guiding you to do a certain thing, then fuck, man, go do it. Like, there you go. If it's guiding you to do that, if it's guiding you to do nothing, then do nothing.
Yeah.
But why apologize? It's just like listening. And I believe, just even from this conversation, Ian, is that's one of the biggest things these days, is that everyone has the tools. They've got these epic teachers like you that they have access to, that you've developed Blissology, and there's all these epic things, and it's there, and it's like, people have the vehicles to move through this stuff, and it's almost like they're waiting for someone to go, oh, hey, here's a platter, with everything on it. You don't have to do anything. Here's the platter. All you have to do is just lick the plate.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good analogy. It's a great analogy. And actually, first of all, I just wanted to say something. Like, here's our Blissology symbol.
Oh,
And so
awesome.
it's part flame, because the great joys light you up. I won't explain this part of it yet,
Yeah.
but it's also part teardrop, because the tears in life will. I mean, we think only happiness and pure joy will get us there, but we don't want the tears. But it's actually, that's like, how can I describe it? Like, I've really been thinking a lot about cells recently, and it's almost like tears are like the receptor of a cell that allows your cell of an individual being to open up to the cell of another. It's like an enzyme. Tears are like enzymes that unlock and help you to feel another person, mentally, physiologically, and emotionally. And yeah, I don't know. I think we definitely need more space for that. Yeah, and we do have, back to what you're commenting on. Yeah, we do have incredible tools. I feel like the main thing that needs to be overcome, if people are going to implement these, is this fear of being judged by others. That's really the barrier. Is most people don't want to seem weak, vulnerable, in front of others. And I don't know. I feel like that's something that is a barrier to people accepting the tools that are on offer.
Yeah. And do you have? I mean, it's a weird question, but are you the type of person that makes life up as you go, or do you actually know where you're going? Because I know you've got your, what you said before. It's like your purpose on this planet. You know what your mission is in life, and it's to create love. But do you have that mission, and then you let each week and each month unfold from that, or do you actually know where Eoin Finn's taken Blissology and where you're taking yourself?
Well, I mean, I know where I want to take it, but life has other plans a lot of times. And so, I really learned from surfing. I look and I go, oh, there's an amazing wave right there. Right, that's where I got to get to. And you go out there, and all of a sudden, there's a rip that's pulling you another direction. And so, even though you plan to be here, you're getting pulled somewhere else. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing. Sometimes you're like, okay, this is where I want to be, and I'm just going to use my full discipline and get over there. And sometimes you're like, actually, it's pulling me there, and if I just go to this spot and a little bit inside from everyone where this rip is pulling me to, actually, I can catch a lot of the medium. I can catch 10 medium-sized waves for every big one that comes over here or whatever, and you see the opportunities. And so, I don't know if you see the analogy I'm trying to make. I go in with the plan,
Totally.
knowing that life's going to, there's currents that I can't have ever seen until you get in the water. And then, so you have to be ready to readjust your plan on the fly and see, and just roll with those currents when they come, and see the opportunities that are there. Or sometimes you have to fight them, like I mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that.
Yeah, great analogy, man. I love it. And so with what's sort of going on in the world at the moment, and with all the fear and the uncertainty and just I guess the judgment, as you were saying as well, and if there's the people that are listening that are really resonating with I guess what we're talking about, and they want to do something, they want to take action, but they don't know what that is. And let's, for example, say, someone's listening right now, or there'll be a bunch of people listening that don't have a yoga practice, or that don't have a meditation practice, or that don't have a breathing practice, or they don't know vehicles of how to get into that guidance, that source within.
Yeah.
And they've been yapping on about it and talking about it for years. It's like, I should really do this or do that. I mean, what do you reckon would be the most obvious path and the clearest way to just take that first step?
Yeah, Yeah, you kind of saying what's the best on ramp to the highway kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I would say. I mean, yeah, yoga is amazing. I mean, I think breathing's good, but it's hard because it's easy because it's stationary. But the problem with starting with breathing is you got to sit in your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, and so what I'm saying is that, okay, look, there's joy, happiness, love inside of all of us, but then there's this layer of thoughts. Like, this is an old yoga thought. I didn't make this up. But then there's this layer of thoughts that stops us from seeing it. And so sometimes we sit down, like, this is the problem with meditation and breathing. You sit down like, okay, I'm going to do this, but then you just stop and you're like, I have nothing in front of me at all. So one point of that is that then it's just you and all the stuff that you wish you didn't have to deal with. And so sometimes that's a little bit tricky, but the great gift of physical yoga practice is that you don't have to, like, mentally, all, we say the issues live in your tissues, so like all this bullshit up here gets stored here, and if you can just get that stuff moving through you as you do simple things like 5 sun salutations, is a simple thing. Just commit. Just literally take 4 minutes less on Instagram or whatever you do, and just, I'm going to spend 1 minute doing a 1 minute per sun salutation. Just try moving like that when you wake up in the morning. Just try a little bit. What you'll feel is that, okay, yeah, you'll be more flexible and stronger and all this stuff, but that you've actually allowed stuff to move through you, connected to the breath and the meditation also, but you've got something to focus on. And that's it. I think you really need that focal point to distract you. So my friend Eric Schiffman has this idea of a beneficial distraction. So we got peace over here, we got this chattering mind of bullshit here, and so you need something in the middle to focus on that will help to lead you. I mean, just to go from 5th gear to neutral, very hard. So you have like a 3rd gear thing in the middle that you can go to, and just moving in the physical yoga practice is just that amazing gift. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that because they're worried, am I flexible enough? Do I look good enough doing this? Am I too fat? Do I look like an idiot? Whatever. And just, get on YouTube. It's free now.
Yeah.
Find something that vibes with you. And, what we do, I mean, I'm not trying to pitch it, but even on the Blissology yoga channel, I got all kinds of 4 or 5 minute things with exactly that intention of like, look, okay, I don't have any time anymore. That excuse out the window. I'm saying do it in 4 minutes. I don't have any money. I can't afford a $15, $20 yoga. It's free.
Yeah.
You've got a phone. So just, I don't know what to do. It says inhale, reach your arms up, exhale, do that. It's telling you what to do. Just do that. So there's kind of no excuse anymore. And if my vibe's not for you, find somebody that like resonates with you and just commit to that, like 5-6 minutes every day. And that's it. I feel like that's a big problem with yoga. You're like, oh, I gotta drive to half an hour to a yoga class. I gotta drive back for half an hour. I gotta spend an hour and a half, which, by the way, in a good yoga class goes like that. But when you're not in it, you're like, I don't have 2.5 hours in my day to do this. But I have this concept called the nipple line. Right? If you get into a cold pool or any pool and you go up to your ankle, you're not going to jump in.
Yeah.
But once you're up to your nipples, you're like,
it's done.
Fuck it, I'm just going to jump in, man, and swim. So if you could just, once you start doing 4 or 5 minutes of yoga, you kind of make it past your nipple line, and you're like, okay, another 5 minutes, sure, I'll do it. And you get in and start swimming, But if you start going, 20 minutes of yoga, I don't have time for that, but you're like, okay, I'll just do 5. And it's amazing how I'll just do 5 turns into 20 real quick.
Yeah. With me, it's always I've been practicing for, 10 or something years now, but with me, I just say, do you know what? I can't be bothered, but I'm just going to roll out the mat and just get into downward dog.
Yeah.
Then it's on.
Yeah. For me, it's funny. I don't know if this is too much of a topic change, but I love music. I love, for me, when I roll the yoga mat out, like, I'm not telling you not to do the yoga videos that I just told you. They'll usually always have music in the background, but if I can just get a nice playlist, and just that really sets the tone for me. And I know some hardcore yogis are like, "Oh, you're not supposed to listen to music." And who said?
No, who said?
Yeah.
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 I've constantly got playlists when I practice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about yeah, I've got a couple more questions there. And like, one is, what about people that do have they've got a regular yoga practice, they've got breathing practice there. I know they've been doing this sort of stuff for a while. What would be, where do they take their practice to the next level?
For people who've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, or even teachers and people that hold space and whatever. I mean, what's next for them? Do you reckon?
I think if I understand what you're asking, I would say, my very short answer is rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Like, to let your curiosity take over. I mean, there are infinite number, just in life in general, there's so many things to be curious about and to learn about. But, even to incorporate that with your yoga, I mean, it's incredible. Like, and so what's your interest? Is it trauma? Is it how music and yoga go together? What interests you? Is it physiology? Is it a spiritual connection with something? What is your interest? And just fearlessly keep going down that rabbit hole, and it will pull you somewhere. There's absolutely no reason to be bored, like, get an anatomy book and look at how your wrist works, and then start to feel that in your practice. Like, there's a million different directions and things you can focus on, but you got to find the rabbit hole that interests you and go deep into it. And that's a secret for yoga. That's a secret for life in
For
general.
life, yeah.
Because if you are dating or married to somebody who likes to go down rabbit holes of curiosity, they're gonna be amazing to hang out with, And so that's life and yoga both, I think, is the suggestion.
Yeah. And what's your rabbit hole at the moment?
I would say, well, there's a lot, but I mean, I really am into science, like embodied physiology, I call it. I mean, I just really feel like everything we talked about like that, actually, if you can understand the downstairs, meaning your body, and send the signals up. So basically, my definition of meditation is self-regulating towards peace. And so we teach kids how to self-regulate, but we got to teach ourselves as adults how to self-regulate as well. And so if you can understand the scientific mechanisms of the body, I feel like that, I mean, it can disconnect you from embodiment, or it can actually help to plug in those loops. So you're like, oh yeah, I understand what's happening with the breath and all these things. So like, one of the things I did during the pandemic, besides write 2 books and make 10 online courses, is I wrote a letter to Harvard Medical School, and I was like, I feel like what's happening right now with yoga and breath work, and even outside of yoga, the Wim Hof things and everything, full respect to those disciplines, I'm just saying that it's only one approach, and what mostly is happening there is intense hyperventilation, and which makes it has a lot of different effects. You're gonna end up dizzy and lightheaded, and all kinds of people interpret that as a spiritual experience, and it produces adrenaline in the body, and like I say, those are good tools. There's a time and place for it. But if you're somebody who's heard that yoga is or breath work's really good for you, and you're going through trauma, I've talked to lots of people who end up going like, oh, I'm going to go to this workshop, and they end up having this traumatic experience, and they're not ready. And I don't think the teachers are actually ready. Not I guess we go off, but some teachers aren't ready. And so I've sent this letter to the Harvard Medical School. I'm like, I actually have a mission of helping to explain the science behind people and learn the science myself, so I can really be that intermediary. So I did a degree in physiology this year at Harvard. And so I'm super, and it's actually, like I didn't know I was going to do this, but I like have a running practice now. I never, like I used to tell people all the time when I had the urge to jog or run, I would always lie down until it passes.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, but now I'm actually become really interested in that, and I see that as part of my yoga and even breath work now. Of like I'm like, because I can really see the cardiovascular system like fully, and I was like, actually, like it was one part of my mental and physical health that I wasn't acknowledging. You know, I sit down and do all this breath work, but I'm like, I'm actually not taxing my cardiovascular system like I should be, and so I started running as a result of this. Did I know I was going to do this? No idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's my real big thing right now. I think is physiology. I love it.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
man.
Biology. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess, the last question, Ian, is what it'd be cool to hear what your biggest aha moment was in life. I know you've had many, but what was like the one where you just like, maybe had some serious shifts and whatnot?
Biggest aha moment. Geez, that's a good question. One moment. Yeah. Okay. I think I know. It was when my dad died.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I got a tattoo right here. I don't know if you can see,
Yeah.
but like it says Savage Bliss at the bottom. It's a wolf. That's our blissology symbol.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I have this concept called Savage Bliss. I think we kind of talked to this a little bit as we've been chatting, but it's basically, everything we talked about is we're trying to like keep all the happiness and neuter out the pain, and that's just not life, And so actually, oddly, when I was young, you just saw my son come in. When I was that age, my dad was always, Ian, you gotta make a wolf howl. Like he'd always, I don't know, it's just a silly thing. We'd always howl together, ow, this, and he's like, whenever life is really good, you gotta howl, and he used to tell me all these stories, and there was always wolves in them and all this stuff, and and then when he died, I don't know, something really shifted in me. It was just such intense, like pain, that I thought I knew what pain was before that, but I really didn't. And I really understood that this is what makes humans humans, and that suffering is a gift. Like, I tried to describe it as a cell receptor before, but a more plain way of saying that in English is, if I didn't know the pain in me, I wouldn't know the pain in you, and I wouldn't care. And yeah, just feeling that and intense loss. And it's funny now, the wolf's on me because that's the thing. If I had to distill life down, like let's say I went to another planet and they're like, "What's life like on Earth? Can you give us a little sound bite?" I'd be like, "Okay, here's a wolf howl." Because when you hear a wolf howl, I can't tell if they're really happy and celebrating, or I can't tell if they're lonely and crying. Like, it's this beautiful combination of both. And yeah, just I think having, just to bring it to a head there, close, is that when my dad died, I just felt it in so much more beyond the conceptual realm. And I honestly, I remember sitting on a rock in Vancouver, where I was living at the time, and just sitting there looking at the ocean, and I remember words came into my mind of like, I now fully know what it's like to be human. Like, I've been initiated. It's like this supercomputer of human consciousness, these tentacles have come through me, and like, oh, I get it. This is what we are. This is the essence of being human.
Epic.
Yeah.
That's yeah, what a cool moment that was.
I know. I'm glad you pushed you on that. That was interesting.
All right, well,
Here comes the little guy here.
hey.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
All right.
Hi.
Have I told you about the wolf howl? Yeah.
Can you do a wolf? Can you do a wolf owl?
Can you do a wolf outline? There you go.
Oh, love it.
I heard that. Yeah.
Love it.
You'll never meet him, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so, in terms of Blissology and where you're taking that, if people want to check in on that, it's blissology.com.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's
everything Blissology, all the social media, everything.
All the social media.
Although the YouTube channel I mentioned is Blissology Yoga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do have a Blissology on demand. We just started where there's actually you can get a free trial of week trial of the videos. So there's a whole bunch of videos that people can try for free as well.
Love it. Is that an app or?
It will be an app soon. Right now it's only on the web. But
on the web,
think
yeah.
in the next 4 or 5 months, it'll come out in app form as well.
Love it. And there's classes. There's what's on there, like yoga classes. There's what else?
Yeah, yoga and meditation ones. Yeah,
yoga and meditation. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Man, it was such an honor to have you on, Ian. Really, really was. Thank you.
Double shaka.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for coming on, brother. Really, real honor to, I guess, just to be in your space and learn a bit from you and pick your brain a bit. And
total joy, man.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing your vulnerability, your love, and just what you're here to do in the world.
Thanks, brother. Aloha. You keep doing the same, huh? And everyone listening, just share it fearlessly. It's like, it passes. I mean, God, I hate ending with cliche things, but it does pass so quick, man.
Yeah.
Just don't wait. Don't wait. Love more now.
Beautiful, man. Thanks, Ian. You're a beautiful man.
Okay. Aloha, brother.
Yeah.
Cheers, Tommy.
See you, dude.
Peace, man.